You wake up in a world where every craving is satisfied instantly. A notification chimes, your favorite meal, delivered in minutes. Another buzz, an algorithm has curated the perfect playlist to match your mood. A swipe, a tap, a fleeting rush of dopamine. The day unfolds in a seamless loop of consumption, streaming, scrolling, indulging. No hunger goes unfulfilled, no desire unquenched. And yet, something is wrong. A gnawing emptiness lingers beneath the surface. The meals taste blander with each bite. The entertainment numbs rather than excites. The pleasures, once electrifying, now demand more speed, more novelty, more intensity, just to feel anything at all. You are not in pain, but you are not alive. You are comfortable, yet enslaved. This is not a dystopian fantasy. This is now. Aldous Huxley saw it coming. In Brave New World, he warned of a future where humanity would be sedated by pleasure rather than oppressed by pain. Where chains would be forged not from tyranny, but from endless distraction. Where people would love their servitude. And here we are trapped in a paradox. The more we chase pleasure, the more it controls us. Why? Why does the very pursuit of happiness leave us emptier than before? Why do we, in an age of unprecedented freedom, feel more addicted, more restless, more owned than ever? The answer lies in a deception so subtle, so ingrained, that most never see it. Pleasure is not happiness. It is a counterfeit. A fleeting chemical trick, a neurological sleight of hand. Evolution designed pleasure as a reward mechanism, a carrot dangled to ensure survival. Eat, mate, seek, repeat. But in a world of infinite abundance, the system backfires. We gorge on the carrot, only to find it dissolves in our grasp, leaving us hungrier than before. Huxley's genius was in predicting not just external control, governments, propaganda, brute force, but internal enslavement. The kind where we choose our chains, where we trade meaning for comfort, depth for distraction, sovereignty for stimulation. Think of the last time you mindlessly scrolled, binged, or indulged. Who was in control? You or the anticipation of the next hit? This is the great question of our age. Are we seeking pleasure, or is pleasure seeking us? Are we the consumers, or the consumed? The modern world has weaponized desire. Social media algorithms mine our psychology, turning our own dopamine loops against us. Advertisers exploit our deepest insecurities, selling us relief that never lasts. The entertainment industry floods us with cheap thrills, ensuring we never demand more. We live in Huxley's nightmare, not Orwell's. No boot stamps on our faces. Instead, we drown in a sea of candy-flavored anesthesia, smiling as we sink. But there is a way out. To see it, we must first descend deeper into the hidden mechanisms that make pleasure so addictive, so corrosive, so perfectly enslaving. You reach for your phone, not because you need to, but because it feels necessary. A familiar itch, a quiet desperation. The screen lights up, flooding your brain with micro-rewards, a like, a message, a new video. For a moment, the void recedes. But the moment passes. The itch returns, stronger. This is not a habit. This is hijacked desire. Beneath the surface of our pleasure chasing lies a brutal truth. We are wired for dissatisfaction. Our brains did not evolve for happiness, they evolved for seeking. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of desire, is not released when we attain pleasure, but when we anticipate it. The chase, not the catch, is what hooks us. And in a world engineered to exploit this flaw, we are all addicts in denial. The philosophers who saw it coming centuries before neuroscience confirmed it. The great minds of philosophy understood this cruel trick of human nature. Arthur Schopenhauer called it the pendulum of pain and boredom. We suffer when we don't get what we want, and we suffer differently when we do. Pleasure is merely the brief respite between two forms of misery. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of the last man, a creature who blinks in the shadow of comfort, no longer capable of greatness, only craving happiness like a docile animal. Carl Jung saw addiction not as a chemical dependency, but as a spiritual void, a desperate attempt to fill the emptiness where meaning should be. Huxley synthesized these warnings into a terrifying prophecy. A society that mistakes pleasure for purpose will willingly enslave itself. The neurological trap. Modern science reveals the machinery of this enslavement. The hedonic treadmill. Every pleasure sets a new baseline. What thrilled us yesterday becomes today's mundane. We escalate, chasing diminishing returns. Variable reward systems, slot machines, social media, and dating apps use intermittent reinforcement. The same psychological trap that keeps lab rats pressing a lever, unsure when the next reward will come. The default mode network. When idle, our brains spiral into self-criticism and existential dread. Pleasure-seeking becomes a way to silence the discomfort of being alone with our thoughts. We are not weak. We are outmatched. The cultural conditioning society doesn't just allow this, it depends on it. Consumerism thrives on manufactured discontent. You'll be happy after you buy this. The attention economy monetizes our inability to focus, turning human frailty into profit. Even self-improvement is commodified, endless hacks for happiness that keep us searching, never arriving. We've been taught that pleasure is the goal, when in truth, it's the distraction. The deeper hunger here lies the hidden tragedy. We are not addicted to pleasure. We are addicted to escape. Escape from what? The fear of insignificance, the weight of freedom, the unanswerable question. What is this all for? Pleasure is the anesthetic, but the wound remains, and the worst part? The more we numb it, the deeper it festers. What happens when an entire generation is conditioned to confuse pleasure with living? The answer is more horrifying than we dare admit. You sit down to read a book. The words blur. Your fingers twitch. Somewhere, a phone buzzes, or did you imagine it? It doesn't matter. The damage is done. After just 3 minutes, your brain, rewired by infinite scrolls and rapid cuts, rejects the effort. The book closes. The screen opens. Another victory for the algorithm. This is not distraction. This is cognitive erosion, the gradual sanding down of your ability to engage with anything that doesn't deliver instant gratification. Huxley's nightmare wasn't just about pleasure, it was about the death of sustained attention, the assassination of contemplation. In a world where every discomfort can be swiped away, who develops the stamina to think deeply, to endure boredom, to wrestle with meaning? We are becoming thought-like creatures, allergic to the very activities that once made us human: reading, reflecting, creating. The consequences: art becomes content consumed, not felt. Conversions become transactions, efficient, not meaningful. Love becomes dopamine exchange, swipe-based, not soul-deep. We are training ourselves out of our own humanity. The emotional paradox: here's the cruel joke. The more we optimize for happiness, the less joy we can feel. Studies on anhedonia, the inability to experience pleasure, show a disturbing trend. Those who chronically overstimulate their reward circuits literally exhaust their capacity for delight. Like a tongue burned by sugar, the palate grows numb. Sunsets? Meh. Seen better on Instagram. Music? Skip. Next. Skip. Nothing hits anymore. Sex? Porn ruined real intimacy. We've created a hedonic dystopia where the very pleasures we chase are rendered meaningless by our consumption of them. The social sabotage: watch a group of friends at dinner. The phones are face up, just in case. The conversation scheme surfaces. No one admits it, but everyone is waiting for a notification, a like, a hit of something better than this moment. This is how pleasure addiction eats community alive, the illusion of connection. 500 friends, 0 shoulders to cry on. The erosion of empathy. Why sit with someone's pain when you can swipe into comfort? The death of presence. We've forgotten how to be here, in bodies, in weather, in the unbearable now. The data is damning, despite being the most connected generation in history. Rates of loneliness, depression, and suicide have skyrocketed. We traded tribes for timelines, and the cost is soul deep. The political pacification: Huxley's darkest insight. A pleasure-saturated populace is a docile one. Why revolt when you're numb? Why question when you're entertained? Why fight for change when the next episode autoplays? History's tyrants used chains and gulags. Modern power structures use endless feeds, outrage cycles, and curated helplessness. The 21st century opium of the masses isn't religion, it's content. We scroll as Rome burns, and we like it. The spiritual bankruptcy beneath all this lurks the real crisis, the void where meaning used to be. Pleasure cannot answer. Why am I here? What is worth suffering for? Who am I when the screens go dark? We've been sold a lie. That hedonism is freedom. But true freedom isn't the absence of restraint, it's the presence of purpose. And purpose requires something pleasure cannot tolerate: friction, struggle, the willingness to endure discomfort for what matters. There is a way out, but it demands the one thing we've been trained to avoid: the courage to face the withdrawal. You delete the apps. You turn off notifications. You sit in silence. And within hours, it begins: the itch, the phantom buzz, the gnawing sense that something is missing. Your brain, hijacked by years of instant gratification, screams for relief. This isn't just boredom. This is neurological mutiny. Here's the brutal truth. Breaking free from pleasure addiction feels like losing a limb because, in a sense, you are The constant dopamine hits weren't just habits, they rewired your reward pathways, becoming a physiological necessity. But this pain is not your enemy. It's the first sign of awakening. The radical reorientation the ancients knew what we've forgotten. Pleasure is not the opposite of suffering, it's its accomplice. True liberation begins with a paradigm shift, from consumption to creation. Every minute spent scrolling is a minute you didn't spend drawing, writing, building. Reverse the flow. From distraction to discomfort, the things worth having, love, mastery, meaning, require tolerating the unbearable, being present. From happiness to meaning, Viktor Frankl's lesson from the concentration camps, those who had a why could endure almost anyhow. This isn't abstinence. This is sovereignty. The tactical resistance reset your dopamine baseline 72 hours of digital detox. No social media, no streaming, no snacks. Let your brain scream. It will pass. Replace synthetic hits with natural ones. Cold showers, intense exercise, deep work. Embrace the boredom, sit with nothing but your thoughts for 20 minutes daily. No phone, no music, no escape. Your mind will rebel. Then it will begin to think again. Rewire your environment, make temptation invisible. Uninstall apps, block sites, leave your phone in another room. Make depth effortless. Keep books, instruments, and tools within reach. Find your pain of choice. What suffering will you voluntarily embrace? Learning? Fitness? Art? As Nietzsche said, he who has a why can bear almost anyhow. The historical defectors, the Stoics, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, they practiced voluntary discomfort to inoculate against pleasure's tyranny. Monastic traditions, from Buddhist monks to Christian mystics. Asceticism was never about self-punishment, it was about clarity. Digital minimalists, modern rebels like Cal Newport prove, you can use technology without letting it use you. Their lesson? Freedom isn't given. It's seized. The new hierarchy of needs Maslow was wrong. Self-actualization doesn't sit atop a pyramid of satisfied cravings. It's found in defying them. The rebel's hierarchy, wakefulness, choosing awareness over anesthesia, discipline, the daily refusal to let impulses rule, meaning. Suffering for something, not from nothing. This is the antidote to Huxley's Soma, the deliberate embrace of struggle as the price of aliveness. But there's a final revelation, one that reframes everything. It's not about resisting pleasure, but uncovering what pleasure has been hiding all along. You've been lied to, not by a person, not by a system, but by the very fabric of human desire. The pursuit of pleasure was never about happiness, it was about control, not your control. There's governments, corporations, algorithms. They didn't invent your cravings, they weaponized them. Turned your biology against you, made you complicit in your own imprisonment. But the deepest lie isn't that pleasure enslaves. It's this: you were never supposed to be happy, not in the way you've been taught to chase it. The existential misdirection happiness, real, unshakable, unfakeable happiness, is not a sensation. It's a side effect, not a side effect of living by your own code. When the world rewards compliance, creating instead of consuming, when the economy thrives on your passivity, choosing meaning over comfort, when every force conspires to make you soft. This is why the system keeps you chasing pleasure, because the moment you stop, you might start thinking. And thinking leads to questions. And questions lead to defiance. The forbidden realization here's the truth they don't want you to grasp. Pleasure is the distraction. Pain is the path, not meaningless suffering, not self-flagellation, but the voluntary embrace of difficulty, because that's where the self is forged. The athlete knows, no burn, no transformation. The artist knows, no frustration, no masterpiece. The lover knows, no risk, no depth. Huxley feared we'd be ruined by pleasure because he understood the human spirit thrives on resistance. Take that away, and we become hollow. The antidote, the solution, isn't to reject pleasure. It's to dethrone it. Pleasure as occasional guest, not permanent resident. Enjoy, but don't serve. Taste, but don't worship. The 90% rule: if 90% of your joy comes from passive consumption, you're already enslaved. Flip the ratio, the meaning metric. Ask not, did this feel good? But, did this mean something? The ultimate rebellion: when you stop chasing happiness, something extraordinary happens. You find joy. Not the brittle, fleeting kind that needs constant feeding, but the quiet, unshakable kind that comes from ownership of your attention, the last true commodity, alignment with your values when no one's watching, the courage to endure what others flee from. This is why the system fears your awakening. Because a person who finds joy and meaning cannot be controlled. The final truth: you weren't born to be happy. You were born to be alive, and aliveness, real, pulsing, defiant aliveness requires friction, requires uncertainty, requires the willingness to hurt for what matters. The pleasure trap isn't just stealing your time. It's stealing your humanity, but the door isn't locked. It never was. You just forgot how to turn the handle. So turn it. The chains were always optional.